What's up, everybody? Eric here with another EWE Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, Episode 10. This is the finale. Before we get into that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know you want me to review next. But yeah, as I said before, this is the final episode of the season. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but at the same time, I didn't know what to expect for this finale, just because I wasn't as into the whole... I kind of knew that the whole, season arc would disappoint me a little bit, and last week I kind of did prove that I was a little bit disappointed with it. Actually, I think at the end of episode 7 I was just like, of course you guys didn't go with like, oh, we have a new like crafty enemy. It's like, okay, I get what they're doing. But yeah, let me actually move on with this review. So this is on Paramount Plus. The name of the episode is Old Friends, New Planet. It was released on November 2nd, 2023. The director of this episode is Bob Suarez, and it's written by Mae Darman. Now, the cast includes Tawny Newsome, Jack Quaid, Noel Wells, Eugene Cordero, Don Lewis, Jerry O'Connell, Fred Tassador, and Gillian Vigman. And the runtime of this episode, guys, is 30 minutes, so it's a little bit longer than most of them. And the basic plot of this episode is Mariner faces her past. Now, at the end of last week's episode, we kind of noticed that Mariner and Nick, the way that she reacted, was like she knew him, and we actually do get in this episode where that happens. Oh, and as expected, I'm going to start this episode spoiler-free, and then we'll go into the spoilers after. I'll mention how Mariner and Nick knew each other. But yeah, let's go into my spoiler-free thoughts, guys. So, first off, I thought it was a fun story. I think my problem is I went in this thinking that it was going to be something like serious, but it's more just have fun, things like that. Mariner had a really good story here, and we kind of see, like in last week's episode, we learned about like, oh, what happened to Sito is what really like made her kind of become very like, like she didn't put her life, she put out her life on the line a little bit more than she should. But it was really cool, like, seeing some stuff from the past here. There's excellent Easter eggs in this episode. I highly recommend you go watch that. And even all the ship combat and things like that. I thought this episode did a really good job of highlighting things from this show. Mariner does a great job of being central to the story and being someone that... I'll talk more about the spoilers, but, like, she's the one that really does a lot of the work here, and I thought it was really good. It kind of makes sense of why they were doing all this stuff with her earlier in the season to try and make sure that we all understood who Mariner is for this finale and how she can handle things, because she did a really good job. Now, let's move on to the bad. Locarno's plan isn't the greatest. When you actually step back and look at it, it's like, really, that was your plan? Like, I don't know. To me, it was just like, this wasn't a good plan. It was like, this was easily gonna get thwarted. Even in this episode, it was like, it was very simple for it all to like blow up in his face. Also with this episode, the Tendi story, I get it, but a lot of it felt a little bit forced, and I'm just like, with how they used it, I was just like, couldn't this have been done a different way? But I think it was just, they're using this as a plot device for season 5, so I was like, alright, I'll just take it until I see what they do in season 5. But other than that, I didn't really have much to really be mad about with this episode. It was a pretty solid episode from all they had. So let's actually move on to my score, and I'm going to give episode 10 an 8 out of 10 for great. I would give it a 9, but I just think how easily the villain was thwarted. I was just like, this is too easy. I'm sorry. This should have been a little bit more difficult, but it wasn't, so it is what it is. Now, do I recommend this episode? Yeah, I definitely recommend people go watch this episode. It's not a bad episode by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, guys, let me move now into the spoiler section. So for you, those of you that aren't going to be joining us, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. But for those of you that are going to be joining, here's your warning. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, welcome into the spoiler section of the episode. So we're going to go through the entire plot of the episode. And we're going to start off right at the beginning. So we actually start off at Starfleet Academy 13 years ago with a young cadet Mariner right there. But she's not the first person we see. The first person we see are the members of Nova Squadron from the same group we saw in Star Trek The Next Generation. I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's like Nick Locarno, Wesley Crusher, Sito, and Joshua. I can't remember everyone's first and last names, but they're all there. It's really cool. Like, we get a Wesley Crusher cameo, and it's like, that's Will Wheaton that's voicing him. Nick Locarno's in it, same actor that did Tom Paris, and there's going to be something about that. I'll talk about it in a second. And then we see this group, they're already trying to get ready for, they're using their, I think it's called Starburst maneuver. But Joshua is not very that confident. It doesn't even look like Wesley's that confident in either. It's just like, this just seems like a bad plan. But Locarno, just being Locarno, it's like, no, this is gonna work. This is gonna work. We're seeing the type of character he is. And then we see someone come following them, and it's a young Mariner, and it's really cute because she really carried. Like, it seemed like Cito, someone like she wants her attention. It's like, dude, you're really cool. I really like you. Like, kind of like that older best friend that you're like, I just want to be, or older friend that you're just like, I want to be your friend and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see that version of Mariner. And like I said, it's good to see like the young versions of some of these characters. It's really cool. So this actually gave us the idea of like, oh yeah, Mariner knows Locarno from her time in the Academy. So now we jump to the present day, and at the end of last week's episode, we saw her seeing him. So like we were like, oh, Mariner knows Locarno, and he knows her. And it's very cool because we actually get this starting with them. And it's really funny to me because they're having this conversation, and Mariner's kind of like, dude, yeah, I knew you, but we weren't close. And he's like, oh, you were like a junior member of Nova Squadron. It's like, dude, she didn't really know you. You're acting like your friendship with her was a lot bigger. This guy doesn't seem to like live in reality. He's thinking like things are bigger, or like when we get to eventually like why everything failed, like it's very obvious why everything failed. This guy does not see things the right way. He thinks he's basically God and he can't do anything wrong. It's like, yeah, that's why Josh died, because you were an idiot. You didn't know what you were doing. But we actually see that now he has his own fleet that he calls Nova Fleet. It's a coalition of different ships all over from different parts of the quadrant, different races, just the ones that the ships that were stolen. It's those ships, and if I'm being honest, it's cool to see it, right? It gave me like Battlestar Galactica vibes, but I'm like, this is gonna easily break, isn't it? So let's actually now switch over to Captain Freeman, and she's being told directly, hey, you cannot go save Mariner, because this is a weird situation. No one died for these ships to get stolen. So it's just like, Locarno hasn't done anything where it's like really done war. It's like they stole the ships, but they haven't killed anyone. It's just like, oh, it's a gray spot. Maybe if he did something like actually bad, they'd go after him. But so far, no one's been harmed. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Then Locarno makes a message through all channels, and on the bridge they see it, and they can see Mariner on his bridge, and he's trying to be all menacing. He looks creepy the way he's trying to act. But we do have a funny moment here where Boimler and Rutherford is saying he looks just like Tom Paris, and of course this is an inside joke about the fact that the actor that played Tom Paris also played Locarno in Next Generation. Originally, that character was supposed to be the one for Voyager, but they decided that that character really wasn't as redeemable as Tom Paris. And I think I saw this thing online where it's like, Locarno looks like a good guy, but on the inside, he's a piece of crap, really. He's a bad person. While Tom Paris gave the impression that he was a bad guy, but on the inside, he was a really good guy. He just didn't know how to really communicate with people. He just didn't know how to show that he was a good guy, but his transformation into the good guy is what made that character special. Locarno is the opposite. Locarno is just full of himself, and I was just like, I really like seeing that, and I love hearing these two characters being like, he looks nothing like him from Boimler, and Rutherford's like, they had the exact same face. So I had a lot of fun with that. And then Locarno has Mariner speak, and this was hilarious because I'm just like, Mariner hasn't agreed to anything, dude. Like, you're assuming she likes you, like that she wants to be part of your fleet. She doesn't want to be with you. So Mariner then says, this guy sucks, and she steals his Ferengi Genesis device, and it is hilarious. They start chasing her, and then Carol tells her entire ship like, hey, I'm gonna disobey orders to go rescue Mariner, and everyone on the crew is like, we're with you. T'Lyn even has this thing, it's like, Cerritos strong. It's like, oh, that's really cool. Mariner then has this funny thing as she's trying to escape. She steals a Starfleet vessel, and she ends up using her mom's codes in order to turn on and activate the ship. And I'm just like, at least she remembered. It was like, that's pretty cool. She knew what she was doing. Like, all that stuff ended up saving her in the end. The Cerritos is trying to get help and now let's go back to Cerritos. They're trying to get help to try and get through. There's this Trinar shield, I think that's what they said. And they need to find a way to get through the shield. They need very like powerful blasts or whatever. So they go to Orion, and they're trying to ask Erica, Tendy's sister, for help. And she's being very reluctant, and she kind of wants to say no, but eventually they get her to kind of agree. So they're Tendi ends up saying like a trial by combat basically type thing, and we'll get there in a second. It's a really fun battle. But yeah, let's go back to Mariner. And Mariner is like trying to break the fleet. She starts talking to some Ferengi. I think she talks to Romulans as well. I'm not gonna like put them all, but she ends up telling everyone like, "Why are you guys taking his orders?" And they're all saying like, "We're not taking his orders. We're all a coalition. There is no leader between us." And I'm just like, dude, that's why to me it's like, if this was his plan, Mariner easily broke his plan super easy. Where it's just like, dude, your plan sucked, really. Like, it was noticeable that you have no control here. You think you're in control, but you're telling everyone that you guys are a coalition and that there's no leader between them, but you're giving orders. Like, dude, clearly this is gonna fail. Mariner does end up hiding out for a little bit, but she knows she can't. She's not gonna get away forever, be able to hide. And she needs to, like, get that Genesis device to somewhere safe. So then we actually find out who Tendi picked for the battle. She picked Dr. Miglimo, and he's going against an Orion that's twice the size of Shaxx, basically. And for a second, everyone's like, why did Tendi pick him? But it turns out that he has an allergy that Miglimo can trigger, and he ends up like going puffy, and he does activate on her, but he screws up and he stays right near her, and she falls over, swishes him, and she wins the battle even though he knocked her out. It is hilarious. But then in a last-ditch effort, Tendi offers herself over to D'Erica in order to get help. So they end up getting a ship, a destroyer. But it turns out the ship is inoperable. They can't really do anything with it. And we end up getting Livik and Rutherford fighting over like what they need to do to get the ship working. And T'Lyn ends up coming up with a good plan of like, oh, I think I know how we could actually save all this. And she ends up making them do the Mark Twain thing. And I'm just like, you know what? It's fair. I actually thought that was really funny. So we see Mark Twain and Livik. I mean, we see Livik and Rutherford doing the Mark Twain thing. It was pretty funny. And now we're going back to Locarno, and he's still trying to chase a Mariner, and she ends up doing Khan, or like from the Wrath of Khan, and just going into a nebula. And Locarno's trying to order everyone else to go in, but none of the other ships are doing it. They're all like, no, we don't need the Genesis device. That's more of a risk going in there than anything. But he's like, no, we're gonna go my plan. We need that Genesis device. Like, he can't let go that Genesis device. And it's just showing like, yeah, he's not in control. His plan was not a good plan really to start with. And then we jump, so now he's going to chase Mariner into that nebula. Now we go to acting Captain Boimler. And they have their plan, and it's pretty cool. What they're doing is that they're grabbing the Cerritos is using a tractor beam on the big destroyer, and they're going to launch it basically on the shield. And they're hoping that they're able to get it to open up for like a little bit so the captain can get through. So then they do that, and they basically throw the ship there. The shield goes down, and then using the captain's yacht, Captain Freeman, Shaxx, Billups, and who else is there? I can't remember everyone that's in there. Ransom's in there. There's one other person. They go through, and so they're able to eventually go find Mariner because they're inside the shield. Now, Locarno eventually is able to stop Mariner inside the nebula, but he's being all crazy. Like, at this point, they know Starfleet's going to stop them. And everyone in the fleet's like, hey, we need to just give up. Like, this has failed. And he's like, no, it hasn't failed. Like, he's losing it. And then everyone in his fleet just leaves. The Binars that were on the ship with him, they leave. Everyone's just like, no, Locarno's crazy. He has no idea what he's doing. He's really bad at this. Mariner, in the meantime, then arms the Genesis device, but Locarno ends up finding her, and he's going to try and deactivate it. He has this funny line where he's like, I was top of my graduating class at the academy, and Mariner's even like, what are you talking about? You didn't even graduate. So it's like, Locarno lies, and he wants to believe these lies that he's greater than he really is. It's why I said, like, he's very different than Tom Paris. Tom Paris, I think, is humbled, and he just gives that bad boy personality. Locarno really thinks he's all great, but he's really not. There's really nothing that he's done that's special. All right, now moving on from there, Freeman is luckily able to get Mariner off the ship. She actually uses a tractor beam, and it's crazy. When Freeman does it, like, Locarno was about to kill Mariner, because she wouldn't get out of his way. And he fires, and luckily she gets beamed away, but he would have killed her. But then Locarno, like, he's able to get the Genesis device deactivated kind of for like a second, but then a paywall comes in that he needs to give 2 Latinum bars because the Ferengi messed with it. And it is hilarious. It's like, oh, he ended up dying because, yeah, he decided to make deals with the Ferengi, which was a bad idea. Again, his entire plan was bad. Luckily, everyone's able to get away, and then the Genesis device does go through, and inside that nebula, it has enough matter to be able to create a planet. Now we go to Freeman, and it looks like her and her crew are going to be pardoned for everything that happened because they technically didn't spill any blood or anything like that on this mission, so it looks like they're going to get away with it. And they actually ended up, a new planet was created, Planet Locarno, and they're going to try and use the planet eventually for like refugees and things like that. It was really cool. And then we get this cool scene with the lower deckers to come together again. It's T'Lyn, Tendi, Mariner, Boimler, and Rutherford. But sadly, this reunion gets cut short because an Orion ship shows up wanting to take Tendi back to the homeworld. So the end of this episode is we see Tendi, and she ends up like, you can tell like she's like, all right, I got to be that other person again for a little bit. So like she has like a little arch face, but you know this is Tendi knowing like I'm going back into the mess and I have to be who I was before. It was really cool. I actually like the way that they did it, and I'm actually excited for season 5. I'll end up doing a season 4 review sometime this week, but I really enjoyed so far what we got this season. I thought season 4, although I won't say to me it's the best season, it's still a very solid season, and they had a lot in there. I do like the fact that at least, even though I don't like what the plan was at least solid. There was something there for start, middle, end, and even on the villains, it's like, yeah, what happens with the villains? A lot of times their plans aren't the greatest because they're bad guys. They just think that they're the smartest people in the room, and they really aren't. So I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I gave this episode an 8 out of 10. There wasn't a lot bad with it. I kind of wish Locarno's plan for the season would have been better, but we'll talk about that in the season review. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you thought about the finale. I'm really curious if people really enjoyed what was done here. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I wish they would have done a little bit more, but that's all good. Not the biggest deal in the world. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye.